General Spellman, the people of Teton County in my state remember vividly the flooding from the Grovon River and Flat Creek in 2017. They're concerned about inadequate preventive drawdown of water from the Jackson and the Palisades reservoirs to capture the snowpack runoff, as you can imagine. As you know, both your agency and the Bureau of Reclamation have a responsibility to protect these communities from flood risk. America's Water Infrastructure Act requires the Corps and the Bureau of Reclamation to develop a flood prevention action plan, keyword action. The flood prevention action plan should include actions that the Corps and the Bureau will take to mitigate flood risk in the Snake River Basin. So the law required the plan to be provided to this committee by April 21st, so last month. The Corps didn't meet the deadline. The committee received a report yesterday, the day before this hearing. Report's 20 pages long. It restates what the Bureau and the Corps already do to mitigate flood risk in the Snake River Basin. The only new actions, if you will, that the Corps and the Bureau will take to protect my constituents, and you're sitting next to our Director of Homeland Security for Wyoming, involves, number one, inviting one Corps staffer to an informal meeting in May, adding a Bureau of Reclamation staffer to an email list, and having the Bureau work better with the media to highlight public informational meetings. Now, I would just say, General Spellman, do you think this is really sufficient to reduce the flooding risk for the people of Teton County?
Sir, we did have the opportunity to review and work with the Bureau of Reclamation on this particular report. In fact, I had a good conversation with the regional director for the Bureau just this weekend. There were 5 broader focus areas that we took away from this particular report that we want to work on. And frankly, sir, I had a conversation with our Walla Walla District Commander just this past week on this effort, and he even shared with me that the district could do better in the state of Wyoming on communicating with stakeholders about the level of flood risk. So, sir, we're going to take this on, the broad focus areas, and get after it with all of your constituents and stakeholders.
Well, thank you. It's good to hear that we're going to get there. Director Budd, you know, your agency's tasked with mitigating and responding to flood risk in Wyoming. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And has the Corps or the Bureau consulted with your agency in developing a flood prevention action plan?
No, they have not.
Okay. And have you heard from other relevant officials in the state about whether they've been consulted?
In preparation for this testimony today, we contacted several state agencies as well as our partners on the ground in Teton County, and there was one contact made with the local emergency manager in Teton County by the Bureau of Rec, and that's all we could find.
So you would agree with the general that they can really step this up? More needs to be done to focus on the concerns of the
yes,
people? Yes,
Mr. Chairman.
You know, the reason I raise all of this is, as you know, in Wyoming, we're entering flooding season. Last month, Wyoming Public Media ran an article with a warning, cold winter and warm spring equals ice jams and flooding. And I'm going to have this submitted into the record. Wyoming's always faced flood risks, especially in northern Wyoming, northwestern Wyoming, and in Worland and Graybull, communities along the Snake River and Teton County. You know, Director Budd, in your opinion, what are some ways that the Corps could better help the state of Wyoming mitigate this flood risk?
Mr. Chairman, we'd like to see continued work at the local level with our rural communities on projects such as you mentioned, Worland, the removal of Goose Island to mitigate the risk of ice jam flooding, as well as the Silver Jackets project that's ongoing in Hudson, Wyoming, where in Fremont County we had a lot of flooding in the past year. So more projects on the ground.
To Secretary James, will you pledge to work with my state to do all that you can to get input and to help mitigate this flood risk?
Absolutely. I can't imagine 2 agencies like Bureau of Rec and the Corps of Engineers not working together on flood risk. I discovered after I got here to this job that Bureau of Rec has many reservoirs out west that I wasn't aware of, and I think it gets a little complicated sometimes. Sometimes Bureau of Rec's responsible for the flood risk management, and sometimes the Corps is. But we need to do all we can do to help protect the people.
Thank you.